Hello sailors, welcome back. My name's Andy. In this video what I'm looking at is strong wind sail setup. So this is entirely for upwind sailing. When you turn the corner, come back downwind again, then you'll be easing everything to varying degrees depending on the point of sail you're on. More about that in a future video. So this is the upwind, and when you're looking at strong wind setup in Ilkas, toppers, probably quite a lot of other boats, the downhaul really comes into play. So this is going to be primarily focused on the downhaul initially, then I'll be looking at the kicker. I've already done a video on using the kicker in light winds, so go and have a look at that. That's pretty good as well. And yeah, there's touching on medium wind setup as well. So hopefully this is something that will be useful for you. Okay, enjoy. Hi there, so today I want to look at the downhaul and what it does. So first of all, we need to start, what is the downhaul? So we've got on the laser, it's this little control here that is pulling down the front of the sail. So what does it do? So it pulls down this front bit, and in the absence of anything else puts quite a big crease in the front of the sail. What it also does is really affects the top of the sail, so it flattens off the front and really affects the top bit there. What we use it for is depowering. What it also does, and this can see a little bit more when I've got the sail on the side, is it actually pulls the shape forwards in the sail, which is very useful. So when do we use downhaul? It is entirely used in strong winds to depower the sail. Apart from that, in a laser you don't want to use any until you're starting to get slightly overpowered. Maybe you want to just stabilize the flow. Okay, so to fully understand how the downhaul works and when we need to use it, first of all we need to look at the kicker. So in light winds you need some kicker, so you need to pull on enough to bend the mast. Where I'm looking at is this area just behind the mast up there with no kicker. Oh, that's a big horrible ridge there. The kicker bends the mast and just smooths out that front section. Okay, so if you don't know about that, I've done a video on that, go and check that out. So setting the kicker for light winds. As the wind increases into the medium winds, actually you don't really want to use much more kicker, because using lots of kicker will actually loosen off the back edge of the sail. So then you want to keep as much tension in the leech and hold as much power in the sail as possible. So when you get into medium winds, actually then you're using the main sheet to pull the sail in roughly block to block. What that will do is hold the leech tight and give you the best power in the medium winds. Once you get to the point where you're starting to get overpowered and occasionally starting to ease the main sheet out, then your kicker, you need to start using it again. Right, so let's have a look. So here's our medium wind sail. Right, we've got a little bit too much wind, we're starting to have to ease the sail out, so I'm going to use a bit more kicker. Okay, what you might notice there is it's flattening off the front edge just up there. Brilliant, we want that with depowering the sail. What it's also doing is shifting the shape back in the sail. So I'll pull on a little bit more. Can you spot that? It's coming back. It's now somewhere back here. And if I let that off, watch that sail carefully. Can you see that shape just sliding forwards? Oh, there it is. At maximum depth, it's around the back numbers, the 0 and the 3. And let it off. And if any more to let off, I'd need to let the sail out. So it's shifting forwards. So at the moment it's in a nice space. It's going to be balanced over the the center of resistance in the boat, lateral resistance. But as I pull on more, it's going to be shifting this power back in the sail. And if you're just using the kicker to depower, your boat is going to be a nightmare to sail. It's going to want to turn into the wind all the time. Lots and lots of weather helm. So what do we do to counteract that? So once you get to the point where you're starting to ease your main and spill some wind, the kicker is flattening off that middle section over there. What it's also doing is meaning that if you do need to let the sail out, the boom isn't rising up, the main sheet's going to go straight out, the sail's going to stay the same shape as you let your main sheet out and not power up. But oh no, centre of effort is coming back here. Boat's going to be a nightmare to sail. What can we use to stabilise it? Aha, our friend the downhaul. Let's have a look. So as we pull the downhaul on, what it's going to do is start to pull the shape forwards in the sail again and stabilise it. And now we've got a very flat looking sail, but you've got to remember when you're sailing there's going to be quite a lot of pressure actually keeping the shape in it. Okay, so initially you'll just be using a bit of downhaul to stabilise the draft with the kicker. Once you get into conditions where you're continually overpowered, you're easing the kicker, then you're just going to be pulling on more and more and more downhaul. So wow, strong wind downhaul setup there, and something I found especially in the Mark II laser sail, incredibly tunable on the downhaul. You can lose so much power using the downhaul. Now it's probably given you a bit of an indication here just how flat that sail is. And actually the top, any windsurfers out there will be very familiar with this top bit here is, oh look how flat that is, really flat. And it actually, you can see it when you're sailing in breeze, it's starting to twist open, very much like a windsurf sail. Okay, so that is sort of downhaul, just using more and more and more as the wind gets stronger. And since we're talking about strong winds and downhaul, we've got to just touch on this outhaul here. Right, that bit of the sail, super flat. This is our strong wind setup. Possibly I'd use a bit more kicker, but anyway, pretty near our strong wind setup. But where is there still shape in the sail? Down here. So you still want to keep a bit of outhaul, keep a bit of shape in the bottom of the sail. That hasn't got a lot of righting moment over you. It's not going to be pushing you over. What it is going to do is be giving you that shape, that drive to push you forward. So loads of kicker, loads of downhaul, but not too much outhaul. Give yourself a little bit of shape down here. So in summary for your rig setup, first of all with the outhaul you want some shape in the bottom, so about a fist width between the boom and the deepest part of the sail. Coming on to the kicker next, and then you're pulling that on, so once you get past the medium winds and you're starting to ease the sail and lose some power, you don't want the boom rising up because that just powers up the sail and rather than spilling wind. So ideally you want the boom to be going straight out. So more and more kicker as the wind picks up, look for that. And then the downhaul, you're pulling that on progressively. So as you're just starting to get overpowered a little bit, maybe just a touch, just starting to introduce the downhaul. It's going to stabilize the draft from the sail. And then as you're really getting overpowered, pull on more and more and more and more and more until really maxing it out when it's super mega windy. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, so if it is breezy and you know you're going to be pulling on lots of downhaul, technique is as you're sailing, wedge your front foot against the front of the cockpit and just lean back, use your leg. Problem is here, once it gets past about there, it's very difficult to pull on any more downhaul. So, can you see here, I've still got a bit of a gap between the handle and the cleat. So when you rig up on shore, if it's breezy, don't just tie your handle up against the cleat, pull on the downhaul, let it off, do that a couple of times, And then you'll find even when your downhaul's all the way off now, it's stretched the sail down the mast, and suddenly you'll find a little gap appearing there. So once you've done that, you can then retie your handle a bit closer to the cleat. So that's off. Now I can grab that. A lot easier to pull that on, a lot less effort, you can do it a bit quicker. Right, go sailing.